Brexit, Brexit, Brexit. Do you want to hear my views on Brexit? Well, stay tuned to this video and I'll explain them. Hi, my name's Andy, this is the Q4 channel, and once again I'm talking from the shed. And this time I'm going to talk about my views on this fiasco that we call Brexit. But before I do that, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. That way, you know you want to do it now. Also, hit the bell icon. That way you won't miss out on future content. And as always, if you feel like it, leave a comment. Also, a like. So, Brexit. Put your hands up if you're bored with Brexit by now. I know I am. I'm absolutely fed up. This is called Great Britain. It would be called Fantastic Britain or Brilliant Britain if it wasn't for the slack-jawed, useless excuses of politicians we have in Parliament bringing the averages down. They make us all look good because they're so bad. Talk about lowest common denominator. You know, it was once called the rock and roll for the ugly, politics was. Nowadays, I think it's the what can we do with the dummies in the country? Let's stick them in that home we call Parliament. It's atrocious. What has happened with this whole debacle that we call Brexit? You see, the most people in UK history turned out to vote on the first time we got to vote on the European Union. Now, it wasn't the European Union when we joined it, it was called a common market, and everybody could see the sense in that. But even then there was a high turnout and a lot of people who didn't want us to join. So we had a vote on whether to join the common market. Let's call it a referendum. And more people than not decided that they wanted us to join the common market. And so we did. The day after that vote, those who lost in that referendum weren't jumping up and down and screaming and saying they didn't know what they were voting for, oh, it's going to be a disaster. No, they just got on with it. And another thing, the politicians did what the people asked them to do and joined us into the European Union. My, how times have changed. So fast forward 40 odd years and we had another referendum, another say on what was now the European Union. Should we stay in it or should we leave? Well, this time a majority voted to leave the European Union. That was it, just the same. Only this time, the next day, there was wailing and gnashing of teeth. There were those saying that people who voted to leave didn't know what they were voting for. Just let that sink in just for 1 second. How arrogant a statement is that? That all of the people, 17.4 million, who voted to leave the European Union didn't know what they were voting for. Yeah, pretty arrogant really, isn't it? But it gets worse. Because following that, it wasn't just that those people didn't know what they were voting for, and now they were also racist. I don't know why. They were also bigots, and they were also xenophobes. Pretty harsh terminology, wouldn't you agree? For just exercising your democratic right to either stay or leave. But it gets worse. Because we're 3 and a bit years down the line and we've still not left the European Union. Why? The mandate was clear from the people, the masters, to their servants, the politician, take us out of the European Union. And that's what they are. They're our servants, public servants. We are the public, therefore the masters. You wouldn't put up with that kind of behaviour anywhere else, would you? If you went to a restaurant, for instance, and you sat down and the servant came to you and said, "Can I take your order, sir?" And you said, "Yes, I'd like to start with the soup of the day, and then I'll go with a medium rare steak with all the trimmings, and I think I'll just finish with something, oh, just to refresh the palate, I'll have a lemon sorbet." And he says, "No, I'm going to bring you prawn cocktail to start with, pasta for the main, and you can have ice cream for pud." And you go, hang on a minute, that's not what I want." "Yeah, well, that's what I'm giving you." No, I'm paying for this, so I want what I want." "Yeah, I'm not giving you that." How long before you called the manager over and probably got this guy sacked, or you just stood up and went somewhere else? Because you wouldn't put up with it, would you? You wouldn't put up with somebody telling you your choices are wrong and that their choices are better for you. So why put up with it from our politicians? Because we didn't ask the Labour Party or the Conservative Party or the Liberal Dems or any of the other parties to do this for us. We told them as a whole, get it done. But we are now bored to tears 3 and a bit years later that we've not left the European Union. So why not? Well, let's look at it. We're now come to a point where we're going to have a general election to try and get a majority on one party at least, so that we can get this done. Now, this has been called the Brexit election. And I know that a lot of the parties have tried to bring it away from Brexit with different types of agendas and manifestos and promises. But the truth is, I think we'll all agree that it really is going to be a Brexit election. We want Brexit done. We're bored with it. Let's have a look at the parties and what they're saying they will do about Brexit, because that's what this video is about, Brexit. Also, I want to apologise if anybody in Northern Ireland is watching this video. I want to apologise to you because I keep calling it Brexit because for the last 3 and a bit years, that's what we've heard, Brexit. But it's the whole of the UK that's leaving the European Union, not just Great Britain. And Brexit means British exit. So it really should be called Uxit. Sounds ugly, doesn't it? Uxit. But I'm sorry to you in Northern Ireland who, every time that word is spoken, are really being ignored in this whole thing. So even if our politicians won't, or our press, or our media won't, I'm apologising to you. Sorry, friends. So yeah, Brexit. Let's see what the parties have got to say that they're going to do about Brexit. Now, we've got two main contenders really, Labour and Conservative. Let's start with a also-ran, shall we? A low-hanging fruit, if you will. The Liberal Democrat Party. Well, for a start, I think you should change your name. Because what your leader, Jo Swinson, oh God, every time I hear that woman's name, it makes my teeth itch. She's got kangaroos jumping around in her top paddock. I'm serious, she's one sandwich short of a picnic. That woman's ideas are lunacy. But the Liberal Democrats voted her as the leader, so you must agree with her views. Therefore, you're all nutters. So let's have a look at what the Liberal Democrats, and you really should change that name, because what their proposal is neither liberal nor is it democratic. But let's hear what it was. Jo Swinson's idea is, I'm entering into this democratic debate and vote to be elected so that I can cancel the result of a democratic vote. Excuse me? Really? This is your idea? You're entering into a democratic race to become Prime Minister or to become the major party to run the House of Commons and the country. So you're happy with democracy if it gets you elected, and your first order of business is to do away with democracy. Yet you call yourself the Democratic Liberals, Liberal Democrats. That whole thing is neither liberal nor democratic. And I, and millions of people like me, might be completely bored with Brexit, and we really are. But one thing nobody seems to be bored with, and that's democracy. It was Winston Churchill who said, "Democracy is a terrible way to run a country, but it's better than all of the alternatives." And he was true. He was right. It is a terrible way to run a country because it's messy. But we can all stand by it and go, we understand the voters that get the most votes win. It's a simple concept to understand. Children do it in classrooms when they're together. You know, who wants to have ice cream? Who wants to have jelly? Who wants to... And whoever wins out, they understand democracy. We all understand democracy. Jo Swinson doesn't seem to understand democracy. In fact, she's the head of a party that is called the Democratic Party, Liberal Democrats. And they don't seem to understand democracy. Bit strange that. Also, the Liberal Democrats seem to think that if they say this enough times, we're too stupid to understand what she's saying. Well, thanks very much for your arrogance. No, I don't think that's a very good policy for Brexit. You're planning on forgetting that we had a vote, forgetting that it was the largest turnout in UK history because people felt so passionate about it, and also that the largest majority, 17.4 million, a 52% majority, 4% ahead of those who lost, are the ones who said, we want to leave. But you want to ignore all of that. How do you think that's going to work out for you, Jo? Not very well, I don't think. And also, you've been known to say on TV, we're doing this because those who voted to remain are being ignored. Of course they are. They lost. That's how democracy works. That's the truth of it. You lose, you get ignored because you go with the majority. That's how democracy works. But you don't understand democracy, do you, Jo? You are a weirdo. You should change your party name to the Lunatic Alliance. So, that's the low-hanging fruit. Now, what about Labour? What are their views on Brexit? Well, let's have a look at it. They're working on the manifesto that we, the Labour Party, that's Red Jeremy Corbyn, a full-out socialist, is saying we will go back to Europe, renegotiate a deal, and then come back to the UK and we'll hold another referendum on whether you should agree the deal that we've got from the European Union. Well, first of all, who's to say you're going to get a better deal than any of the two that have already been negotiated? But let's say you do. Let's say you do. Let's say you get the best deal that everybody just goes, wow, this is a brilliant deal. Well done, Jeremy and your crew. Magic, this is fantastic. But you've already said that when you have the referendum, you're going to campaign, you and the Labour Party, against the deal that you got. I'm sorry, but have I woke up in cloud cuckoo land here? I know that Brexit has divided people and it's set the cat among the pigeons, but it's like everybody's lost their sanity. It's only we, the general public, who can look at you bunch of nutters, and go, what are you playing at? Because that's what you've said. You're going to go and negotiate a new deal. And why would the European Union negotiating with you in any kind of fairness when you've already said that when you put that vote to the people as another referendum, you're going to campaign against your own deal? This is just madness. Okay, so that's the Labour Party, who are kind of a serious contender. Then we've got the Conservative Party, ran by a buffoon at the moment. And let's be honest, Boris Johnson is a buffoon. That doesn't mean he's stupid. Don't ever think that Boris Johnson's stupid. He is a buffoon, but he's crafted that image of buffoonery to his own advantage. And it works really well for him. You can't deny that at all. Anytime he does something, makes a gaffe, misspeaks, lies, and he is a liar as well, everybody just goes, oh, it's just Boris being Boris. You know, that boys being boys kind of attitude. It's just Boris being Boris. Because the thing is, we've all got someone in our circle that's a bit like Boris, haven't we? Either a relative or a friend or a co-worker who's a bit of a buffoon. And although they annoy the hell out of you, at times they're amusing, they're entertaining, so we keep them around. That's kind of how Boris has got so far as he has. Because when you really listen to him, you start thinking to yourself, hang on a minute, something's fishy here. And you know what they say about all politicians. How do you know when a politician's lying? His lips are moving. And that's what we've had all of these 3 years, is just lies, procrastinations, shilly-shallying, and out duplicity. And we can see that. We, the general public, can see it happening in front of our eyes. And we're fed up with it. We want Brexit done. We don't want to go to the restaurant, order something from our servers, and then have something completely different delivered to us. We've given our orders to our servants. So here's my idea. And it is only my idea. I'm not telling you how to vote. That's between you and the ballot box. You've got to vote with your conscience. But you also should know what's going on. So my idea is, we've got 2/3 of Parliament who are Remainers, not very representative of those who voted to leave, which was the majority. So now we're in the ballot. We're there. It's time to vote. If you're from a constituency that voted to leave, and your politician at the moment that's sitting, who's asking for re-election, voted it anyway to remain, they don't represent you, so sack them. This is your opportunity. This is how democracy works. Every 5 years we get a vote and we get our chance to sack those who are not representing us and are not doing our will. So sack them. Vote for somebody else. I don't mean you have to vote for somebody you've never voted for. If you're a hardened Labour supporter, I'm not advocating that you should then all of a sudden completely change your colours and vote for the Conservative Party, because that might be completely against your grain. But vote for somebody else. Clearly not the Liberal Democrats, because there is no party called the Liberal Democrats now, because they're neither Liberal nor Democratic. But vote for an independent. Maybe you've got somebody standing in your area who's an independent. Vote for them. I think it would be great if we had a parliament full of independents. They would have to work with each other to create a coalition. They would have to work together to do what we told them to do. Enough of this bipartisan nonsense, this identity rubbish. It's what's dragged us down to where we are now, a laughingstock of the rest of Europe and the rest of the world, that we can't get a simple thing done like, oh, I don't know, doing what the people told you to do. Also, business is suffering, because business can work really well when it's in a war. Business can work really well when it's in peacetime, because they know what footing to work on. At the moment, they haven't got a clue what to do. This, as the Chinese would say, are interesting times. And interesting times are never good nor interesting. They're chaotic. And business can't work in chaos. It can't work and produce and make money when it doesn't know what it's planning for. We've missed so many deadlines with Brexit, and each time business has tried to get itself geared up for if we do leave, and then it's not happened, they've lost money. It's like the boy who cried wolf. You can't keep saying it's going to be this day and then it doesn't happen, because business will start saying, oh yeah, it's never going to happen, and then be caught on the back foot. They don't know how to plan, and that way we're losing money all the time. Our GDP is down for simply this reason that I've just said. Business can't work in chaos. Interesting times. So back to the Conservative Party. They're not coming into this with clean hands either. I've already said what the Liberal Democrats and the And of course, the Labour Party are planning for Brexit. Both of them are completely ridiculous ideas. The Conservatives are still giving the same mantra that Boris Johnson's had: we will leave, come do or die, 31st. But of course, he's already been proven that that's not the case. I don't blame him personally, because all of Parliament has worked massively and astutely against us leaving. Which, as I said, you would sack that server, wouldn't you? So you've got your chance to sack them. But they haven't come with clean hands. From David Cameron, or David Condom as I call him, because I think he looks like an inflated condom with a face drawn on and a wig slapped on the top. That coward who ran away as soon as the vote didn't go his way, like a small child who's not winning at Monopoly, tipped the board over and went, I'm not playing anymore. You know, we'd have all had a bit of respect for the guy if he'd have just rolled his sleeves up and said, look, I campaigned to remain. I hoped that the vote would go in my favour. It didn't, but this is what the British public mean. This is what it wants. So now I'm going to get on with that job and try and get us the best deal we can. If he'd have done that to the British public, I tell you what, they would have admired that, because that would have taken some backbone to do. But he hasn't got any. This guy's got the backbone of a sponge. Straight away, I'm going, I can't manage it, nobody's going to listen to me. And now he's done a Hillary Clinton. He's brought a book out that says, I lost, but it was everybody else's fault, just like she did. So, yeah, waste of skin, that bloke. Absolute coward. So who got voted in the place? Well, then we got Theresa May. An ardent Remainer, made no bones about it, but she sounded tough, didn't she? Brexit means Brexit, and I would rather go out with no deal than a bad deal. All impressive sounding sound bites. But I was always brought up to believe, and it's still true, that actions speak louder than words. Her words sounded really powerful. Her actions were completely counter to her words. She never said to the European Council and the European Union that I'm prepared to leave with no deal. So therefore, they gave her the rubbishest deal they could. A deal that really favoured them. And why wouldn't you? If you're dealing with somebody who's never said to you, I will leave with no deal, who's more or less saying to you, I need a deal, you'll give them any deal you want, so long as it favours you. And that's what they did. So rather than leave with no deal than a bad deal, she came back, again, her actions proving her words a lie, came back with the worst deal you could possibly imagine, that literally would put Great Britain, the United Kingdom, into servitude of the European Union. They would have managed with that one document, Germany and France, who are pretty much the ones who lead the European Union, they would have managed to do what they've never been able to do under arms. They would have defeated the United Kingdom. They would have brought us under as a subservient state. But luckily, that got saw through and it never got passed. So Theresa May, she again had to go away with the tail between her legs. Like I say, Conservative Party have been the ones cocking this whole system up, but not on their own. They've had a lot of help from the 2/3 of Remainers that occupy Parliament, not representing their constituents and the will of the people. Our servants are no longer doing our bidding, so it's time to sack them. And we've got the opportunity. This is a general election, so vote for somebody else if and I don't care what party they represent. I don't care if they're Conservative, Green, Liberal Democrats, Labour. If they voted against leaving the European Union, and you're in a constituency that voted to leave the European Union, sack them, clear them off, get rid of them, get somebody else in who's going to get the job done. Because we are bored to death with Brexit. We want it done. For goodness sake, get it sorted. At this point, I think most people, or at least a lot of people, will be happy for us to leave without a deal, so long as we leave. Personally, I would like us to have a good deal. But leaving without a deal isn't going to be the end of the world, because the European Union need us far more than we need them. You don't think that they want us to leave, do you? Of course not. They've put every delay in the way they possibly could. They came up with this nonsense of the backstop and the border with Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland as though that's a thing. It's not really. They're the ones who brought up the idea it was going to somehow negate the Good Friday deal. How? Look at it. It's not. No, it's nonsense. They don't want Great Britain, the United Kingdom, sorry my Northern Ireland friends, I keep doing it because it's habit, but they don't want us to leave. They trade far more with us than we do with them. So do you think if we left without a deal that they wouldn't then come to us with a trade deal that was favourable for both sides, or at least a good compromise? Of course not. They'd have too much to be able to explain to their own industries in their own countries if they didn't do that. Of course they don't want us to leave either, because we are, or were, the second largest contributor to their budget. That's a big dark financial black hole that they've got to fill somehow. That means they've got to go to the rest of the countries that will remain and ask for more money. Well, no, they won't ask, they'll demand, because that's what the European Union does. They just up the bill. That's going to really annoy all the rest of the countries. But anybody who says to you, here's another thing, anybody who says to you, but look at all of the finances we're going to miss out on from the European Union, you know, all of those projects that the European Union financed. Really? Leave in the comments down below the year since we joined the European Union, but the year that we got more back from the European Union financially than we contributed. Yeah, leave that in the comments down below. Because I'd be interested, because I'm pretty sure that year in, year out, we've given them far more money than we ever got back. But that was a good con. The European Union played that brilliantly. Fantastic marketing. And let me explain it like this. I give you £10. Then I say to you the next day, can I have £1 of that £10 back, please? I need to buy a new t-shirt. And you say, yeah, sure, under these conditions. I decide what colour the t-shirt is, and you need printed on it that I bought this t-shirt for you. So I have to say, yeah, okay, to get the £1. So now I'm wearing a horrible coloured t-shirt with a big legend on it saying, John bought me this t-shirt. Makes John look brilliant, doesn't it? But I actually paid for it, but I didn't get a say in what it was going to be like, what style, what colour. And that's how the European Union works. We give them tens of billions of pounds, and then they give some back to the United Kingdom for projects they approve of. Not all projects that they're wanting funding, but ones that they approve of. And it usually has some big banner or plaque or something saying this project was sponsored or funded by the European Union. It'll have the STARS flag on it. So anybody who sees it thinks the European Union are helping us. But it was our money, and some of our money, that paid for that. See how that works? So yeah, leave a comment down below and tell me the year since we were a member of the European Union that we've received more money back in a year than we've given them. Simple question. Anyway, that's my views on Brexit. Bored. And as I've said, I and millions of people like me up and down this country are bored to tears with Brexit. But we're not bored with being in charge of our politicians, and we're not bored of democracy, Joe Swinson. We cherish democracy because it's the only chance we get to tell those that are supposed to be running the country on our behalf they're doing a poor job. So, if you've got a candidate who's standing to be a member of Parliament and he voted against your wishes of your constituency, sack him, get rid of him, get somebody in who actually will get the job done. And none of the major parties have got clean hands. I've explained why. They've not got clean hands. But there are alternatives. You've got, I don't know, you've got the Brexit party. Actually, I've got a little bit of grudging respect for Nigel Farage. He's the one politician that I can think of that I've been around for years who has actually put something on the line to get what he wants. None of the other major politicians, I mean, if win or lose, they'll just carry on merrily in their own way. Then they never go away, do they? But Nigel Farage, his goal is to get us out of the European Union, and in doing so, he ends up unemployed because he's an MEP. So if the party gets its way and we end up out of the European Union, he's sacked. That's kind of ballsy, isn't it? I mean, he's actually put something of material value on the line. I've got a little bit of grudging respect for that. So anyway, that's another one of the parties. Brexit, at least, you know, they're not like these career politicians that keep looking out for their own interest. And then you've got the Green Party, if you feel the environment is something that you want. But again, what are they going to do with Brexit? What are they going to do to get it done? And then there are a number of, in each constituency, there are usually some independents. Like I said, wouldn't it be great if we had a parliament full of independents? And to make a working government, they'd have to work with each other. Just saying. Because our parties at the moment can't seem to work with each other to get something done that we told them all get done. So that's my little rant and my views on Brexit. It really is boring now. Anyway, let's finish with a little bit of humour. Finish on a light note, shall we? After that tirade and rant. There's this old lady, she's just gone into a nursing home, bless her, and her daughter's coming to visit her the first time. She's been there about a week. And as she's walking down the corridor to go to her mum's room, the head nurse practitioner steps out and says, can I have a quiet word with you? She says, yeah, sure. She says, there's nothing wrong with my mum. She says, no, I just want to ask a few questions. She says, okay, yeah, no problem. So she goes into the office with her, and the carer says, has your mother got any medical complaints that weren't told us and weren't filled out on the forms? And she says, well, no, not as far as I know. She's only here because she's now too frail to care for herself in her own home. She says, why? What's been happening? She says, oh, nothing bad. It says, but when your mum's been sat in the chair in the day room, just occasionally she'll just be sat there and then she'll just start leaning to the side. And she keeps leaning. And it looks like she's going to fall until one of the nurses catches, pushes her up. She always smiles and says, hello, thank you. And then a bit later she'll start leaning the other way. And it looks like she's going to fall out the chair again. And one of the nurses, we just wondered if there's something going on that she's not told us. And the daughter says, well, I'll have a word with me mum, because yeah, that does sound worrying. Maybe she's in pain or something because she's not been here long. She feels a bit shy and saying anything. I'll find out. So she goes to visit her mum and she says, hi mum. Hello sweetheart, how are you? You alright? Yes, yeah, fine. How are you settling in mum? Oh, it's lovely here, it's great. She says, you enjoy it? The food okay? Oh, the food's lovely, she says. There's a lovely comfy bed, I sleep like a log I do. She says, yeah, and everybody's so friendly. I've made new friends. She says, anything else mum? You know, nothing you want to share with me? She says, well, there is one thing sweetheart. She goes, okay, well, what's that mum? You can tell me. She says, they don't like you farting. Just breaking. Anyway, as always, you people out there, be happy, be healthy, but above all else, take care of yourself. Because if you don't, who will? Goodbye now.